Hello and welcome everyone to this fourth and final episode of our series of webinar about CAD, PLM, and augmented reality. I'm Richard Bressan, the account manager at Parametric Design Canada, and thank you so much for joining me today. So this is the final episode of a series of webinar, and today with me there is Marco Pettanella, and Marco Pettanella actually is the co-founder of Parametric Design and business developer. And today we'll be sharing some insights about the concept of ALM, Application Lifecycle Management, and the solution CodeBeamer. Just to remind you, Parametric Design Canada is an authorized retailer and partner for the software provider PTC, which offer comprehensive product suite to meet your requirements. Our range of solutions includes CAD 3D, PLM, ALM, and augmented reality and industrial Internet of Things. Since at Parametric Design Canada, we are technological advisor for manufacturing companies, today our focus is on discussing the application lifecycle management and the software solution CodeBeamer. CodeBeamer by PTC is a powerful application lifecycle management platform designed to streamline software development processes. It offers end-to-end lifecycle management, collaborative tools, and supports both the agile and waterfall methodologies. With a robust requirements management, integration capabilities, and a focus on compliance and security, CodeBeamers enables teams to efficiently manage projects, collaborate together, and deliver high-quality software products. Its flexibility and comprehensive feature make it a valuable tool for optimizing software development processes. And on that note, I'd like to invite you to write any question you may have during this webinar to our email address at contatti@parametricdesign.com. And now I'm leaving the floor to Marco Pettanella. Marco, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I am delighted with this moment of sharing. That marks the initiation of our customer base into this application type, acquired by PTC approximately 6 to 7 months ago. The name of the application is CodeBeamer, and it rightfully enters the path of reinforcement and completion of what is called ALM. I am Marco Pettanella, co-founder MP business developer of Parametric Design. During the webinar, I invite you to write all your questions to the email address contatti@parametricdesign.com, and I will personally respond. In previous webinars, we have already talked about Windchill, PTC's PLM, while today I will tell you about ALM. What does ALM mean? The acronym stands for Application Lifecycle Management. We all know that the engineering bill of materials until recently was not complete because there were always two anomalous entities. In the design phase of PTC, there was a lack of the software and firmware components. This makes a significant difference today, especially in the skills of those capable of developing software that determines how a single component part of an electronic board must react or interoperate with the software component that governs the functional element. There is now a component totally encapsulated within the PLM solution that allows us to manage the life cycle of software and firmware in different configurations, with a focus on two important areas: project requirements and risk analysis. In this mapping, we find the skills, the specific functions found in this type of area. We need to understand how to think differently in evaluating TCO, total cost of ownership. But above all, we talk about evaluating the product's performance, its financial statement that explains the cost with which the result was achieved. We need to take advantage of scalability benefits, and there are collaboration tools, migration tools from other configuration management tools, and above all, tools that at the end of system engineering must culminate in a digital twin. So we are talking about approaches in which smart and connectable products must provide information on failure indications, but above all, on the evaluations of the behaviors within the system's plan. In the world of software development, there are engineering approaches, like those in the mechanical part, different only in setup. There are actions called sprints, and this should lead the customer to evaluate small results consistently and coherently. Now, let's talk about CodeBeamer. So the application before it was acquired by PTC was the reference point for software and firmware development, but above all, for the integrated management of requirements, verification and validation tests, and the compliance that the product has guaranteed in developing towards the requirement and the assessment of risk. Let's define first and clarify etymologically what a requirement is. A requirement is a necessary condition for a stakeholder to solve a problem or achieve a goal. It obviously satisfies a standard, a specification, or formally imposed instructions. And this type of approach is discharged along two lines, which the IEE 6110 standard indicates, and qualifies and refers to the fact that usually the product requirement prescribes the properties of a system or product. If, and instead we define the requirement towards the process, they prescribe the activity that the development organization must carry out precisely. So, in product development and process optimization, a requirement is a physical or functional need that a particular project or product aims to satisfy. So, it makes the concept a bit broader. It can refer to any function, attribute, capacity, characteristic, or quality necessary for a system to have value and usefulness for the end customer. The requirement is subordinate to a structured management that must always guide the development path within a series of control elements. Here, we quickly see in the tabs what the primary functions are. CodeBeamer is an application first that connects to Windchill through a connection methodology I mentioned earlier, OSLC, which stands for Open Service for Lifecycle Collaboration. It is a database that interoperates with the PLM component conceptually identical, but virtually separate because it manages phases and elements that should not interfere with the product structure. It is clearly a multi-user project managing documentation in total integration with the Microsoft component, requirements, tests for verification, and it is also possible to have specific storage areas that are self-contained and only function for the development of this part. There is a wiki component within the system where it is possible to create a series of guidelines for the user, especially rich in information and those defined as SOP, which are typically derived from the company's management. It is precisely the norm that indicates it. So we talk about automotive, then TS ISO 16949, we talk about the medical device and disposable world. So we talk about medical device regulation, or ISO 2017-745 or ISO 13485. We talk about S9001 regarding the aerospace and defense world. We talk about the machinery industry component, everything specifically related to the Machinery Directive 2006-42 EC, and a whole series of regulations that must be considered and must then be included in the declaration of conformity that the manufacturer issues when they begin to distribute the product. All these regulatory contexts are contained in CodeBeamer and drive the customer through a series of pre-configured templates and environments, guiding the user in the design or definition process of engineering requirements in compliance with the reference regulatory context. Access is controlled in the same way as we manage digital signatures and through a unique approach, the user in the Windchill PLM solution. There are concepts and functions called trackers. In CodeBeamer, trackers represent the state of a specific bug, task, or requirement using attribute fields. The system also considers the change history, that is, how these elements are chronologically arranged. It is possible to create a whole series of associations with other documents or other external URLs to have a structured configuration of the software and firmware development lifecycle. Infinite workflows can be created. The graphical component that the tool uses is like the one used in Mind Manager, which many of you may know or have used, and the granularity with which it is possible to set it up is very deep. There are also authorization processes linked to role certification within the development group rather than requirement management, which then drive changes within the software. They are totally configurable to the image and likeness of the development process configured in the company. Okay, here we enter the theme of requirements. It is more complicated to explain than to show. It is an informative page. You see it in the top left of the panel, structured, orderly. These are activities, thoughts, considerations, evaluations that are computerized within a relational database, namely CodeBeamer. And CodeBeamer also accompanies the creation and definition of the requirements tree in total compliance. I specify this because compliance is the most important value-added element. This is done using project management techniques that can be agile or combinable. The application is web-based, so the system via Windchill can connect to the ERP component, preferably if it has a division that deals with industrial accounting through which it is possible to measure what the component's standard cost is. Here we enter the key element that often creates a bit of a headache for research and development office. Especially large groups wonder what predictive risk assessment is. And here we must be clear because the tool, only for this feature, pays for itself. Due to some regulatory contexts, which are those I listed before, mainly aerospace and defense, medical device and pharma, and automotive, one cannot exempt from making a requirement assessment. So, before starting any design, engineering, or restyling activity, it is fundamental always to evaluate what the probability value is, what the risk value is, and in various configurations, understand what the damage value could be percentage-wise, using technical tools and automations that the tool provides concurrently with the development activity. The same applies to the reorganization of tests, verification and validation. Here you see in all these steps how quality is often called within the path. There is a very advanced reporting system that considers all these aspects. Certification bodies are also able to conduct an audit activity directly in the system, thanks also to the use of Windchill. On the left, I've already mentioned before, waterfall agiles, Scrum, Kanban, and so on. So, Codebeamer is a fully performing tool. The last slides of this webinar concern the ability to import and export external files. It is very simple. Through a series of Codebeamer tools, it ensures configuration starting from data generated in any of the Office packages. Here you see how easy it is to drive porting within the system. This, for example, is the import. You see on the right the setting mask of a series of requirements from Word, where the system, through recognition that also works on logical text analysis, organizes the requirements, calls within a series of technical documents, from which you can then start developing the system within the tool. The same goes for what Excel allows. Excel often serves users to initiate system export paths to other tools, with an import that is a result of how these boundary tables are mapped. So let's say that Excel and Word have interoperability and remapping ease within the system very linearly. This is another important aspect that has made the system a reference for the market because it manages with a certain ease, without loss of data and mapping the importance priority of informational components within the system, managing history as no other tool can partly manage. The closing slide, before we approach the final part, gives visibility to what some verticalizable tools are. PTC has settled the licensing as for Windchill, so there is a Codebeamer Contribute license for the user who only goes in reading, viewing, and searching. And then there is a mapping that is Codebeamer for users who have a certain type of need, Codebeamer Advanced, Codebeamer Premium. We are talking about easily accessible costs, also because the figures that benefit from it are not most of the company. There are specific vertical templates on the 3 areas I listed before. You see them here in the video. Let's close with a summary of what the digital thread is in the key of application development. The ending is this. On the right, we have PLM, so ECAD, MCAD included, bond management, engineering, service, and manufacturing, all the documentation of design activities using Microsoft Project, aspects of simulation, how to manage variant options of the same engineering bill in a very smart platform context, so IoT. On the left, with the ALM component, we include transparently the management of requirements, the management of tests, to verify and validate the product at the entire risk evaluation and management component, including various project management techniques, software development, and key. Okay, this is the new image that traces what the new way of managing development is in model-based engineering key. So, analysis, management, evaluation, and understanding of requirements. While we evaluate product requirements, we must be able to perceive the risks and understand how to activate the validation process. From here, we can develop the software in perfect compliance with what the process indicates and in total harmony with the other component, which is the mechanical one that mainly sees in Windchill. With this, I have finished. Thank you for your attention, and I hand over to Richard. Good day, everyone.
Thank you very much, Marco, for such a great presentation about the ALM and Codebeamer. So guys, this marks the end of this webinar and our series. I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next series of webinar, which will happen very soon. So stay tuned. And a special thank goes to our marketing department for their hard work in putting all this together. And remember that Parametric Design Canada will remain available to assist you following this webinar. So please don't hesitate to contact us at contatti@parametricdesign.com for any further question or information. Once again, thank you all of you for participating and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.